Okay, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Less Known Classics. This is episode number 1472 and Doubleshot number 1366. I have two Harley Quinn trades. Yep, and this is pretty much reviewing the Rebirth Deluxe edition. I have never reviewed one of these before. Yeah, simply put, they took two regular trades and combined them to one. First up is the second book. Is technically the first book. I've already covered the issues in that one, which that covers the first 13 issues of Harley Quinn Volume 3. This one here, Volume 2, covers 14 to 27. Yep. Now, the interesting thing when it comes to these issues is that, well, of course you still have Joey Palmiotti and Connor doing the main, writing. From issues 17 to 25, they actually have an actual backup feature for this series. That, it's mostly set in the regular DC animated universe. And here's a fun fact for you. It's actually written by Harley Quinn's one of her co-creators, Paul Dini. I did briefly discuss this. I asked Joey Palmiotti about this. They loved working on this with them. And they love working with Paul Dini because, Paul Dini is a nice guy. I have heard also he's a really close friend of Kevin Smith's. Yes. That's when it comes to writers for you. Yep. Now the whole thing with that one, that's basically Joker Loves Harley. It's a backup feature that later led to a 2-issue miniseries. Also by Paul Dini, that pretty much concludes that particular storyline. Basically, it's Joker and Harley on the run. I would probably say, from this point of view of this series, it's presumably between the events of the final episode of the original animated series and possibly the start of the new animated series. That's possible that takes place. I'm not really sure. Now, there are various things that happens over the course of these issues. Yes, for issues 14 to 27. Now, they also include in this book the 20th anniversary, which is actually really good. Now, 14 and 21, which is actually from Volume 3, that's actually the Red Meat storyline. Yep. This one, of course, it just basically various things. Like, you have Harley hang out with her gang of... You have Harley with her gang of Harleys, deal with various other stuff here. like grasshoppers, deals with an alien. Now, they also start a plot thread in these issues, the return of Harley Sin. You see, toward the end of the previous... Now, she was first introduced in the miniseries Harley Quinn or Gang of Harleys, which I kind of pointed as though the reason why this miniseries existed was because of, as a response to Deadpool and his Mercs for Money. That was simply the reason for the existence of that miniseries, was to introduce Harley Sin, and then she appeared in the second to last story arc of the previous volume for the series. Here she is here. Mostly put her appearance here is to start up the beginning of the end for Jimmy Palmiotti and Manakara's run for this particular series. Yes, they actually leave with issue 34. So yeah, she is supposedly transferred to a new facility, and she's hired by some mysterious person to go after Mason, the guy who kind of basically the same thing with the Jordan in the previous volume. He was sent to witness protection by Batman, and Harley Sin's job to do is to go after him and basically another target. We have Harley basically just chillaxing on her roof, and then she runs into Allie. Yep. Like, you read this again, I'm like, wow, I'm surprised that Jimmy Palmiotti brought this character back, especially since the last time she popped up was actually the pages of Starfire. Yeah, she was a supporting character in that series. Now, I like this character. At one point, this character's code name was Tara. Yes, believe it or not, it was Tara. But my guess is the reason why she can't call herself that in the current continuity is because the actual Tara Markov, is actually alive. Well, for the most part, even though she hasn't really done much of anything since the District Volume 2. Yeah, the claim where you started. Yeah, and then of course, then she has apparently off-panel changed into the costume she wore in the Harley Quinn Power Girl series, and of course from the Harley Quinn. And speaking of Power Girl, and before we get to that, we cut to briefly in the future, which is basically it's a future apparently where Batman's in charge. Oh yeah, and I love this woman. Where she's got on her wall, she's got the Japanese Batman, she's got the 60s Batman, she's got various Batman logos on the wall. But the one with the Japanese logos, that's actually from the Batman manga. The one where it focuses on the Adam West Batman and focuses on his time in Japan. I've read a little bit. It's actually a really good series. I kind of wish I could actually read more of that. It was actually really good. Yeah. And first we see her basically punching a punching bag. And then we see her take a shower, which, by the way, her assistant apparently is watching her take a shower. Like, okay. Oh yeah, then she just shows off a little, like, a bat laser from finger destroys a Harley Quinn doll. Because she doesn't like Harley Quinn very much. Of course, Harley Quinn falls over, like, apparently it's 150 years in the past. And it runs to the alien, and then all of a sudden, this is quite interesting. Well, we see some other people. And then Power Girl shows up. Yep, Power Girl. Yes, apparently Joey Palmiotti and the car love this character. Now, one thing I love about the way that they integrate here into this series is that Power Girl is drawn in her pre-Flashpoint attire. The other thing about Power Girl is that aside from this series, she hasn't really done all that much in the past decade. I mean, what has she appeared in? Well, let's see. She popped up in Mr. Terrific first, in the current continuity. She popped up there as his girlfriend. And then she showed up in World's Finest. And then she appeared in the Earth 2 series, Earth 2 World's End. I think she appeared in Convergence. And then she appeared in Earth 2 Society. And that's been it for her. Aside from that, she's mostly appeared in this book too. My only guess is the reason why that Joey Palmiotti are allowed to use this character in this series, because this is a character they previously wrote. As a matter of fact, they were the original writers of a very brief ongoing series. Yeah, they wrote the first 12 issues of the 27-issue run that ended back in 2011, and they probably like, hey, can we, considering this book is not technically continuity, can we use Power Girl again? You're like, sure, why not? Harley, of course, is a character they specifically created who first showed up back in Supergirl, Volume 5, Issue 12. I kind of asked them about this when they reintroduced her at the page of Starfire. Was the issue itself basically sort of a semi-remake of the original issue? And they kind of hinted that, yeah, it kind of is. It's pretty much that's basically what it is. So, Jennifer Bay, of course, you see the alien. And then we see Harley's Sin, where she basically finds... She's looking for Mason. Yep. Oh, by the way, Allie, I should point out, who's got herself her own boob window, just like Power Girl does. Of course she does. Oh, I almost forgot. She did pop up for... She did meet up with this continuity Supergirl in the previous volume. I believe those issues written by the original writer. It was when they switched out her original costume for World's Finest, switched out for her a redesigned version of her classic costume that people love her seeing her with. Instead of having a costume alteration, so have a which one functions show her off our boob window, because people love that about the character, and that's one of the most famous things about the character. And there's also been suggested by Linkara that apparently there was there may have been a possible story. Like, there was a story about basically artists basically tend to basically have a recurring gag of how long you can draw Starfire's hair. And he suspected, though, maybe there was a gag of how big you can draw Power Girl's breast. I am not kidding. That's seriously what the guy said. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't be surprised given the fact that guys like drawing women's breasts in comics. Well, that's what artists do. That's what they draw women, basically. Depends upon what their preference is. Yep. And of course, that's dealing with the alien. And then cut to the Batman future. We have sort of a Batgirl. I'm not sure. And then she fights Batman, who is a freaking wrestler. No, this is not Bruce Wayne. It's some wrestler who claimed to be Batman. And she fights him. And she beats him by nearly killing him. And then, of course, well, there's a chance. Number one Bat fan is Devin Cage. You won. You get to go back in time to the past. You get a chance to meet Batman. Oh, you got the half right. You're trying to tell a prize for sure, but not to be Batman. Well, I murder Batman. We're going to kill Harley Quinn. Yeah, this doesn't go much anywhere. So, then after, well, she, of course, Power Girl talks to the alien. She punches him, and of course, well, we have Allie and Harley Quinn just drinking some drinks. And you have her fighting her, and then, of course, we have some various other stuff happen. Still more fighting. And, of course, they walk off, and then, of course, we have the alien just hit by a bicycle, and then he's hit by a freaking bus. And I wonder, what was the point of this character? Yep. And then we end with basically the last panel we see is we see the rear ends of Harley Quinn and Allie. Well, I'm sure the artist probably got paid double for that. Yep. And I love this cover image basically of, well, Harley Quinn in her roller derby attire, and of course this is actually the start of the backup feature. Yep. This of course is red meat. Yep, and Harley found what she's looking for, and it's Mason's mom. Yep. Yeah, this has some potential. That actually is a story thread that runs out the rest of this run. Yes. And then we have, apparently, at the end of the issue, Harley Quinn getting kidnapped. And then, of course, come to the Harley Loves Joker stuff. That actually, like I said before, it's simply put, basically. And, of course, we see more stuff with her in the background. Like basically, and this is more interesting stuff. Like, we even see on her wall, apparently she's got the 60s Batman logo on the wall, along with her I think that's an Arab logo. So yeah, how sister then she apparently gets sterilized. Sterilization, so I can't have children after this. It's ensured no foreign bodies to your body. In your suit and battle gear be decontaminated right now. On contract signed before the games. Oh sure, the contract, the one that's 8 miles long. I remember, kind of. Yeah, and apparently we all see she's got some scars on her. She got some scars on her arms. Oh yeah, and she's basically standing in front of this female scientist that's completely naked. And then she puts on her Batgirl-esque costume and goes back in time. Almost like Terminator style. Yeah, she claims Harley Quinn killed Batman. I'm like, how? He's fine. Yeah. And of course, well, Red 2 comes in, saves Harley. Yep, time to save her. And of course, we come to the Harley Loves Joker stuff. Well, I love the cover, basically, of this one. It's like, hey, you gotta wait to page 15 to read out my backup story just like everybody else. And it just, Harley Quinn just ripped up the page. Of course, it's the cover for the actual trailer itself. That was so funny. And of course, well, Red Tool rescues, well, yeah, it's been hinted that the Red Tool's got a thing for Harley Quinn. I mean, what guy wouldn't? Harley Quinn's hot. Yep, beats up our captors. And it looks like, I think it's a corrupt mayor. At least somebody. Of course, Harley Quinn beats the crap out of him. And then, of course, she escapes, and, well, that's it for that. Yeah, apparently they have this Bat fan really wants to kill Batgirl, Harley Quinn, where We have Red Tool get bandaged up by Harley. I'm sure he basically is having the time of his life. Having the woman he likes basically. And then she gets a phone call from Harley says, like, what do you want? And she shows she has got Mason and Madame Macabre. They're like, how'd you find him? Who is this? Who is it? Hang on a second. Gotta deal with this. Instructions. Is all you have to? Red Tool, I do not need your neediness right now. Now be I can call you later. Yeah, from the guy who likes you, Harley. Yep. And oh boy, I guess as a Bat fan myself, basically, I'm just loving this page. We had the Bat fan goes into the Bat cave. By the way, one of the cars basically seen here. Like, look what we got here. We got the Bat Cycle. We had the Batmobile from the Grant Morrison Batman and Robin run. We had the 60s Batmobile. And I think this right here, this car is from the 60s. Like, I think it was. Yes, it's clearly that apparently this artist is a big Batman fan. We have the Neil Adams suit. We have the giant penny. Oh my gosh, it's so fun seeing this. Like, this one page, I just love this freaking page. Because I love glorious shots of the Batcave because Batman's favorite character. So then, of course, you have Harley Quinn just relaxing there while worried about Harley Sin. And then she's attacked by, of course, the Bat fan. And she is, Harley Quinn! For your crimes against the people of Gotham City, and for your future crime of murdering Batman, here to sentence you to death. And then she says, and of course, she's, 60s Batman. Actually, it's Robin says it. It's like, sorry, sister. With the ring in my ear, I can't hear a thing you're saying. Nice out, by the way. No matter what. Die. Play by yourself. Of course, they get outside. And then she just, whacks her with a crowbar against her chest. Like, thwap. I'm like, wow. It's like this issue is written to be completely slapstick. And written to be similar to a 60s Batman TV show. Like, squeak, quack, meep, thwap, thunk, oof. And she's like, I can't believe the one who killed the great Batman is so easily defeated in hand-to-hand combat. So disappointed, pathetic even. Alright, Pootie. See that? My ring in my head is finally quit. I ain't pathetic. If he's hand-to-hand combat. And Batman is definitely, determinedly not dead. So, who are you? Let's create a suck. This is a rotten hell, Batgirl. How you rhyme? Of course, he hits her in the face with her little glowing hand. Bat 2 out of 10. No time for this. Wait a minute. HQ, you got a genius IQ. I know who you are. You know my doctor's name, my doc name, I think. And of course she's got her hands on this woman's butt. Because, how else are you going to carry her? Kind of flattered. Anyway, Bat Lady picked the wrong day. And of course she shows her off at her catapult. And she's like, oh no you didn't. And where does she end up? After getting past Harley Loves Joker stuff. It's really good stuff. Well, you don't see what happened to her. Harley seems still having Mason tied up here. Like, huh? Hit on Broadway. Wait a minute. Coming. Like, goodbye. Like, where does she end up? And then she grabs her hand and whacks her with a monkey wrench. Yes, a freaking monkey wrench. And continue to beat the crap out of her. Gives her a headbutt. And then a shock. Yep, and then of course she got her mask removed, and Harley Quinn, both of her are tied up. And of course she's got a purple mark on her face, probably because she get punched by Harley Quinn. And of course Harley Quinn's got a bruise on her head. Yeah, of course we have relax. So we what? Thank you. Potentially in front of you. can't see. Devin Cage, why are you here? Well, who are you? How do you know who I am? Answer the question, I will explain. I'm here to execute Harley Quinn for the killer of Batman. When are you from? Even though I am from the future. Yes, the future where Batman believed dead by Harley Quinn's hand, but you come from an alternate future, or at least prefer its alternate past, where simply... I say my future is wrong, I think it isn't. Yep, got to chatting for a while. Who is this person? See, apparently the ancestor of his, like his great-grandfather. So apparently the guy talking is Red Tool for some reason. What's over here? I've been here for years now, and I've seen where you from. See firsthand. You were the first Batman champion. Haka, you never came back. How? So apparently Red Tool's from the future. He's like, I lost my arm and return chip. I'm stuck here. Unlike you go back in a year and make sure to tell people to stop sending people back. It's useless. Can't change a thing. You have a choice to continue leaving the Harley response Batman said, or accept that you're clearly wrong and clearly trying to do something to receive. Sorry. And if I continue with Mr. Harley, then I'll just tie you up for a year and make sure you're fed and able to escape. Tips you back next year. Not much of a choice. And then she gives her like change of clothes. Yeah, of course, the chat for a while gives her apartment to stay there for a while, for like a year. But you played that very well. Yeah, but then Harley basically is back, I think, in her apartment. Change her little corset she's wearing for a t-shirt. And then her parents show up. Yep, her parents. By the way, when the Batman showed up, never explained. Yep. And then we see, while this is like her parents, we see Poison Ivy coming out of the shower. Like, wow. And her father's like, Harley Francis Quinzel, did I teach you never buy the first car in the lot? I thought, that's just so funny. The fact she will say that about Poison Ivy. And then, of course, we have Red Tool coming out of the shower, too. And he's got a dog cover his groin. Okay. And we see the various, people who live there interact with Harley's parents. Yep. Yep, and then of course we have a little family time with the parents. And apparently the police chief is one of more of the people that empty cells. Yep. He had this mysterious one connected to, somebody. I have to hang around for a while. Harley, see her in the bathtub. First time seeing her in the bathtub since she was 0 for the previous film. And then, of course, she runs a Harley Sin while she walk out of our bathroom in her just towel. And Harley Sin's their apartment with, a man that Harley likes, Mason, and his mom. I gotta admit, his mom is actually pretty good looking. It's a really good looking woman for a woman her age. Yep, and then of course you have a brawl between Harley Sin and Harley Quinn. Yeah, at one point the towel falls off and Harley Quinn's get the crap beat out of her when she's completely naked. Yeah. Yeah, Mason is seeing Harley Quinn completely naked, though he doesn't see very much though. And it was heavily implied Harley Sin had a thing for Harley Quinn. Yep. And apparently her job is to take out the mayor of New York, despite the fact that, she's hired by some mysterious person related to her father, too. Yep. After freeing Mason, of course, she gets punched for her efforts. And then she puts the towel right back. She apparently took time to put the towel right back on And, well, of course, Mason is probably wondering, damn, I would have probably loved to see the full what was underneath that towel. I'm sure he's probably thinking that in the back of his mind. And Matt McCollum is like, well, this is better than Welcome Home Party. That was some uppercut, kid. This girl doesn't know when to shut up. Harley, you've had some self-awareness to your repertoire. I already say that. It's like, where are the manners? Whoop. Oh, the ambush hug. Good to see you. You too, big boy. Let me catch you guys. I got ready to take my parents out to dinner. They're in town for a few days. Mason, Mama Cobb, can I ask you for a favor? Can you take this mess down to your place and tie her up when I get back? We'll figure this out. Sure thing. Yep. And of course, well, the thing with Harley is she's not that bad looking woman. And of course, then she hangs out with Goat Boy. Yep, Goat Boy. Goes in the subway. Or we see Mayor meeting with the mayor and this other guy. He, of course, the chief punches him right in the frickin' face. After, well, Goat Boy meets up with, well, then we see Poison Ivy. She's talking with Red Tool. Yeah, two people who love Harley Quinn. Poison Ivy and Red Tool. Makes perfect sense. And then we see, apparently, and this is quite strange, Clock King and Sportsmaster showing up here. And of course, Harley starts finding them. Yep. As of course the family circle stuff. Yep. And then after dealing with them, we see two guys peeping on a woman. And we see Red Toad talking to the Batman from the future. And of course, hanging out with the parents for a while. And after hanging out with them, and of course, call from Mr. Cobbhot, basically the Penguin, of course. And then after seeing, and we see, well, Harley Quinn with Cy hanging out in the hot tub. I'm wondering, where the heck is his girlfriend? It happens to be the grandmother of some other guy. Yep. And then we see Catwoman, and we see like a birthday party for Harley Quinn. And at this birthday party, we see Poison Ivy, Catwoman, Allie, the woman who's no enemy of Harley's, Mason, Madame Macabre, Red Tool. And I'm thinking, okay, this is great. I'm thinking, you're probably thinking, is anyone missing for this one? I wouldn't be surprised. And of course, we have this wonderful moment. And of course, Cy is basically smiling at this when Harley and Ivy make out. Oh my god. Well, basically, just a little peck in the cheek. He's like, we'll give you you'll get your present later. You are naughty and wonderful. Wonderful. Never change. And of course, I also have a birthday. The Harleys basically are just celebrating with her. And then, of course, we have... and we have her do Pintail Donkey. Yep. He has Spootsdale, basically, where he gets pinned by accident. And, of course, he's hugging Ivy. He's like, what? And, of course, he has his face. He has his head in her chest. And she's like, fine, whatever. And I'm thinking from this guy, especially the guy is married, it's like, wow. It's like, he's basically hugging a beautiful woman, Poison Ivy, and of course she nearly falls out the window. And of course she's saved by Power Girl. Yep. And then of course she hops in Poison Ivy's arms. Oh yeah, by the way, there's a little moment later on with Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy where there's people trying to fire at them. And, well, they take out all the gunmen, and of course, well... Of course, I'm dealing with the whole Joker stuff. Yeah, guy ruined his birthday. Yep. And of course, well, see a guy with a knife coming at Harley. Harley Sin still being tied up at Mad McCom's House of Wax. She gets freed, and of course, you have Harley Sin with Harley, probably because she probably it's her problem. And you have this weird, awkward moment where basically Catwoman's upside down and basically almost in Poison Ivy's face. And these two do not have a thing for each other at all. She does not have interest in Harley. I mean, Catwoman's straight. She loves Batman, not Poison Ivy. And of course, they all look at each other for a bit. Talk to a reporter. And then she announced she ran for mayor of New York City. Master Domain. They have some roller derby stuff, which is awesome. While dealing with the fact that buildings in eminent domain. Appearance by Cobblepot. Owls by Cobblepot by people. Yep, fights in briefly. And apparently he's called his backup. And it's the Joker. Say hello, Puddin'. Hello, Puddin'. Joker. And he's like, touch me, your corpse. Really? Got a few drink. I'm thinking, like, is this really Joker or is this the bogus Joker who shows up in that previous story? And it turns out that this is not actually Joker. It's a hologram. Yes, Joker is not here. But that was an interesting cliffhanger, saying the Joker show up here and he's working alongside Harley. People get massages, and of course, we celebrate, and we have the little happy anniversary book for Harley. We have Harley like a little road trip, and of course, some of these stories are done by Jim Potter and Connor, but not all of them. And then it looks like we have like Allie's like drunk. I think it's Allie. You have very people like basically drunk at this party. Party. Got pictures. On by Dustin Egan, and of course by art by Bingle. Next story is basically featuring the Joker. Yes, the Joker, the actual one, not the fake one. And we see Batgirl in her previous costume for the fact that not that good looking of a costume. I know we're talking for like a half hour, but there's a lot of stuff happening in this book. Yep, and we get sort of a surprise for Harley. Probably a past Harley, and then we see... Looks like I see this page, I see Killer Croc, Joker, Jiggly Dumb, Poison Ivy in her pre-Flashpoint attire, Mad Hatter, Catwoman, who was black for some reason, Riddler, a bunny, I don't think it's supposed to be White Rabbit, and of course celebrate her birthday. But yeah, this is an interesting page. I mean, who would have thunk this? This is, of course, Harley is in her jester attire, and this, of course, is done by Paul Dini. Of course it is. Who the woman is, I have no idea. We have Babs Tarr, who does this art. I believe this was the artist who did the previous one for Batgirl. Not the most recent one. The one before that. The one who took over for Amanda Connor. Not Amanda Connor. Gail Simone. You have Harley Quinn in a story with Ivy. The story by Daniel Kidsmith and art by David LaFosse. It's a okay story. Just basically... Harley and Ivy, when they run into frickin' Swamp Thing. Yes, frickin' Swamp Thing. Of course, Swamp Thing. Because Ivy's got connections to the grain. Yep. It's an interesting little story. Last one is basically done by Jip Sardesky. Yes, art by Joe Cornish. Yep, it's but Harley taking on Batman and Robin, probably early in her career. And... not much else to say about this. Just really good stuff here when it comes to Harley Quinn. I get this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. Really damn good. Now, moving on to book 3 for the series, which contains the remainder issues of Jim Harley and Amanda Connor's run, along with the very brief run by Frank Tieri. Yep, he takes over issue 35 and leaves with issue 42. Why does it leave issue 42? Just to do a mini-series. 42, all it is simply put a backdoor pilot to the mini-series Old Lady Harley, which is simply put Harley Quinn's take on Old Man Logan. Harley Quinn style, of course. Yep. Oh, by the way, the 2 trades they put for this one covers issues 28-42, covering the two trades of Vote Harley, which is actually Joey Palmiotti and Amanda Connor's last story arc that they did, and Angry Bird, which is the only issues that Frank Tieri wrote before the book was taken over by Sam Humphries. There are various different artists on this book. We have, of course, John Timms, Ikea Medina, Marca Alfio, Morat, Auskemet, Chad Harden, Eric Kaliti, Merchant, Michael Kaluta, Tom Durank, and Brett Beeves. Now, the whole thing of Vote Harley storyline is really interesting. We start off with the mayor, where he apparently has finished having sex with two beautiful women, and tells them to get lost because he's in the middle of a phone call. And then, of course, talking to another woman who basically is naked, after finishing being a masseuse. Yeah, after finishing a massage, he apparently starts grabbing the masseuse by the pants, implying she's going to have sex with him. Yep. We have Junk in the Trunk, which is so hilarious. Ivy's in this whole story arc here. And this whole thing is basically Harley Quinn running for office. Which, well, she doesn't win. I'll spoil that for you. So, basically, she showered with the Harleys, with the exception of the guy. Just basically a few members of the team. Members of the group. And we have, well... them, of course, basically... just, well... we have her... and then, apparently... we have one of those weirdest things, random things happen. Apparently, the Scarecrow shows up here. Yeah, just to cause chaos. Yes. Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow. Cool. Love this guy. Love my favorite Batman villains. He's not the only Batman villain that shows up in this story arc. Oh no, he's not the only one. Yeah, of course, Mason's going really good with Harley. And then of course Poison Ivy comes by. And it's like apparently it's very heavily implied that based upon by the panel I see here, that Harley and Mason had sex. Yep. And of course, Ivy, despite the fact in love with Harley, she's got no problem with it. She's happy. And of course, Jonathan Crane does this little craziness. We see apparently like she hallucinates seeing the Joker, who's not there. And of course, Ivy saves her. Of course, we have this weird image of Ivy making out with Joker. Yep, and we have, well, Ivy just put on some lipstick to basically sort of help Harley by kissing her. And then we have the flash photography, like, ooh, snap this! A female mayor candidate kissed by a woman. It worked. Buttercup, what happened? The Scarecrow happened. Yep, the frickin' Scarecrow. Yep. Part 3, the protesters. Yep. That was very interesting, though, the fact that, well, he's here. Harley Quinn is apparently still hanging around. Apparently she's, well, put aside her grudge with Harley. Yep, and then, of course, well, everything's going fine until Mason gets kidnapped. And, of course, then she decides to drop out of the race because Mason got kidnapped. Yes. And, of course, like, so, what army? That army. Okay, fine. And, of course, she ends up in jail for daring to attack the former mayor. She dropped out. And, of course, we see Mace being held hostage. Yes. Harley Quinn basically is like me and that tattooed tweaky hand. Hey, I'm standing right here. Yep. They had this really awkward moment where basically Harley Quinn says she's gonna bring him home. Like, be careful, sweetie. That's me. Be careful. And then we have it is really the hug is like, is that your hand on my behind? Shush. Don't kill the moment. Yes, Harley Quinn puts her hand on Ivy's rear end. Of course, these two love each other. So, of course, they do. And, of course, Harley works with Harley Quinn. Or it seems like they put the grudge behind them. That's what happened to Harley Quinn in their Gang of Harley's miniseries. Harley Quinn gets shot in the leg. And then we see Mason, well, being tortured. And then he dies. Yep, Mason dies. We have this weird image of basically we have the cover image of, well, Poison Ivy not wearing the correct attire. Yes, for some reason the artist decided to have her wear her pre-Flashpoint attire for some reason. Yes, it's this attire. It's not the exact attire she was wearing pre-Flashpoint, but it's one of her outfits. But yeah, and of course she wants to kill. Well, it's interesting though. Jim Palmer and Amanda Connor in the penultimate issue in the run kills off Mason, the guy who Harley likes. Of course, Harley is still wounded, and of course, well, she gets like nearly shot in the neck, and Harley's like, "No," it's like this is the end of that tattoo. And of course, she's still freaking bleeding after being shot in the leg, and apparently, like that doesn't take her out. Well, apparently, being shot in the neck doesn't kill her, and then she kills the other guy, one of the guys, by shooting him. And Harley Quinn gets off on it, like, whoa, ha ha ha, she gets off on killing, kill. Like, oh, maybe Harley Quinn's been killed. And they turn on the TV, like, oh crap, that's not good. That can't be happening. Yep. That's when we got this. And of course, we have the guy. Yeah, and of course, you have the mayor, of course, basically heard what happened. He's like, and Matt McCobb contacts her. I was like, yeah, I'm away. No, sorry. He's like, really sorry, Mason. Yeah, of course, she talks to Ivy, tells her she loves her, and of course, then she breaks into the house of the mayor. Yep, and then she got an axe, apparently, because, well, the mayor's assistant basically is locked out of the panic room. Like, oh gosh, that fat SOB didn't sign your death warrant, Madison. You did. And apparently it's implied that apparently she got beheaded by Harley off panel. And then showing her she gets shot, and then she opens up a door, and he sees, oh yeah, oh, we finally killed that crazy witch. Shake your hand. That would be me. What's your name, son? Well, my real name is nothing when you call me Red Tool at your service. Who the? Turn around. Yep. And then, of course, and then we have something out of The Godfather where apparently he wakes up and you see his assistant head in his bed. Like, I'm not showing it. Like, really? I'm not sure whose bright idea was this to rip off the freaking Godfather with this scene, with the mayor waking up and he sees the head of his assistant in his bed and his bed covered in blood. I'm like, yeah, this is a complete rip-off of the Godfather. Yeah, there's an infamous scene in the original Godfather movie where a producer is not want to sign this singer to a contract. So they said to persuade him by killing his favorite horse and putting the horse's head in his bed. And then eventually he signs the guy anyways. Like, this scene is a clear ripoff of that scene. Yep, which definitely confirms Harley beheaded her with the axe. And of course she's one like, I can't move my legs. Oh, this isn't happening. Oh, it's happening, alright. Flea bite. Then just prepares you, knees down. Not temporarily matters your case. Go ahead, kill me, you crazy woman. I'm not saying who wrote that line, who basically, when he calls her bitch. Yes, I'm not sure if that was Jimmy who wrote this or Amanda. My guess is it was probably Jimmy who wrote that line, because they both co-wrote this book. Like, I got your boyfriend. Your boyfriend got what you deserve, and I'm not begging for your life. What do you want to do already? I'm not killing you, Mayor. Mr. Mayor. You made me your enemy. You have the right to kill you for sure. Just that I can't cause that gift because someone else belongs. Someone else. Someone who's going to feel firsthand what you're going to do the rest of your life. That someone ain't me. Meet Madame Macabre, Mason's mother. And that briefcase? Well, that's of handy-dandy doohickeys that she used in her wax museum to sculpt her beauties. Yes. And Mary Chiquero? My guess is she's going to plan for your... My guess is what she got planned for you is anything but quit. She's all yours, Madam M. Please, take my son's body and leave me be. I'll find my way home. I might be a while. Yep, and it's very heavily implied that it's very implied that she tortured him. Well, he's killed him very slowly with her torture tools. And then, of course, we have a little finale with the morning after. Well, then with his funeral. And, of course, Harley trying to get after that by basically dancing around. And we'll snack on the meat. And then she goes back to roller derby stuff. Just basically goes back to basically what she's doing before. Beats of the person from the other team. You saw me, of course, she still has a jacket with Joker's... I like the fact he had the back of his Joker's face on it, but he's in jail. Everything's like everything's so hunky-dory. And, of course, we have thing end with Harley riding around with, well, Poison Ivy. Yep. And, of course, they just pal around with Big Tony. Yep, I know this one's going kind of long, but there's a lot of stuff that happens over the course of these two trades. Yep. Yep. And of course, Ivy and Harley is visiting her parents. Everything looks like it's fine. And of course, Ivy just basically just takes out 3 people. Can't but spin the bottle with your darling brothers. My sleepy lipstick seems to have done the trick. They will be awake for another 12 hours. It was just 13. Weren't you guessing boys age 13? No, 14, no, 15. At first it was 11. At my birthday party, playing the spin the bottle. Oh, don't sweat it. He was asleep from pizza overload before we even got started. You were such a Venus flytrap. I thought that's so funny. And they go to some random house. Actually, the house looked like a store, presumably. Actually, it might be a house. And of course, look like they to bring out her hyenas. Next to the guard, and of course they sneak out, and of course they get arrested. And then they do something completely unexpected. They stop by the house of Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor. Then we apparently have Jimmy Palmiotti with this artist. Now, I've met Jimmy Palmiotti. This is actually a pretty good rendering of Jimmy Palmiotti, though he looks a bit slimmer because Jimmy Palmiotti is a bit chunky in real life. Because I met him in person, and yeah, this kind of does look like Jimmy Palmiotti. At least gotta hand it to that. In the case of Amanda Connor, okay, that's actually a very good rendering of Amanda Connor. Yes, that definitely does look like Amanda Connor. Because, well, I met them both at the same time. Last I saw them was 2 years ago at Comic-Con. So, I know what these two look like. They're great people in person. And it's not the first time I've seen this. This is the third time I've seen this in comics. Like, reviewing this, where you have the writers of the book pop up toward the end of the run. First, you have this Grant Morrison and his awesome art for Animal-Man. Yeah, this happened also for Gary Duggan, except Deadpool freaking killed him. And in this book, you have Harley Quinn just going to the house of Jim Palmiotti and Amanda Connor, who live here in Florida. They live in freaking Tampa. Yep. And they go off and basically just... you have this wonderful scene of basically Harley and Poison Ivy going to the beach, wearing bikinis. And then we have this really weird issue. Like, that last issue was the end of Jim Palmiotti and Connors, and I'll get to my final thoughts of it soon. Then we had this weird story called Batter Up, where it's the start of Frank Tieri's run. Apparently we have Harley Quinn turning into a version of Man-Bat, or at least She-Bat anyways. Yep, runs a frickin' Man-Bat. Okay, I don't really know why the heck he's even frickin' here. And then she gets injected while being held captive by... Actually, this is not Man-Bat. Nope, it's another Langstrom. It's not Kurt Langstrom. This is... I think this is his daughter. Yep, and then she becomes a female Man-Bat, and she's like this for this whole story. It's weird, to say the least. It's only lasting for a few issues, because, well, he comes on with issue 35, and then he leaves with issue 42, and this is a complete story arc. Yep. And, of course, the appearance by, of all people, the Penguin. Yep, the Penguin. And apparently he's in contact with the Clock King, Black Spider, Mr. Freeze, the Condiment King. Oh, it's these guys. Oh boy, it's like Frank Tieri just bring out the guys of Who's Who from Batman Rogues Gallery. Like, we have Solomon Grundy. I have a guy apparently posing as Darkseid, even though this is not really him. A Joker. And of course, then we start the Angry Bird stuff. And of course, Catwoman's here. Harley Quinn for hire. Yep, so then we have the Who's Who. First we have the Penguin, obviously. And of course you have the Penguin talking to Madame Macabre. And he meets up with his hired help. Basically, it is the real Solomon Grundy, the Condiment King, Mad Hatter, Victor Zsasz, the ventriloquist. This is the original ventriloquist. Mr. Freeze, the Riddler, Ratcatcher. I don't remember who the one with the teeth is. So, the first person we meet up here is talking is Killer Croc. Yep, Killer Croc. Like, he's in. We have Cy going to the beach wearing a frickin' Speedo. And then he runs into Mr. Freeze. Like, why is Mr. Freeze at the beach? Well, it's quite odd. I'm not really a big fan of this look, Mr. Freeze. It's fine. I like the fact how he's written. It's perfectly fine. Not really a fan of the stuff here. And we have Condiment King. Of course, Condiment King. He is a B-list Batman villain. Actually, he's more like a C-list. And we also have Ratcatcher, King Tut, Johnny Croquet, Film Freak, and the Zebra Man. Of these characters, Ratcatcher is somewhat of a noteworthy villain. He still occasionally appears. I mean, Jody Howes made him a supporting character in the Mother Panic series. King Tut, wow, that's a very somewhat obscure villain. Especially since his last appearance prior to pop up here was actually in Batman Confidential for a few issues. Yes, Batman Confidential. Film Freak and Zebra Man. Film Freak is a character from the 1980s. He's occasionally popped up over time. The Condiment King prior to this, I think his last appearance was actually in the pages of Batman in the two-part on the rooftops where Batman and Catwoman were just beating the crap out of random villains, and he just was a random villain, the Condiment King. Zebra Man. Oh boy. Now, Johnny Croquet, I'm not really familiar with him. Zebra Man. Oh boy. If you ever see that very infamous cover of Batman wearing a zebra suit, the reason why he wears it, take out freaking Zebra Man. Like, he is such an obscure villain. I mean, I know who Ratcatcher, King Tut, Film Freak are. I mean, well, Ratcatcher, I mean, people, Batman fans, long-time Batman fans know who he is. But King Tut, kind of, yes, mainly due to Batman 60 animated series, 60 show. Film Freak, only if you read comics in the 80s. Johnny Croquet, don't know who he is. He is from the Silver Age. Then we have... oh boy, it's Egghead. Yep, I think this is actually the first comic he's appeared in outside of Batman 66. So, then we have the Gorilla Gang. And of course, taken out by, of course, Harley. And then we have Killer Moth in his pre-Flashpoint attire. Yes, I gotta say this actually is better than his, well, other attire he's got. Yep. After Harley fights them, of course, he beat up a bunch of these guys. Yeah, and then, of course, we have an appearance by King Shark. Wow, that's somebody Harley Quinn does know from her days in Suicide Squad. He looks a little different. I'm not sure what's up with the lines. That's kind of weird. And then he gets a crap beating of him by freaking Killer Croc. Yeah. So after more chatting with a bunch of, like, characters. Then we have Monday, where she beats up Quilt Man. Yes. Tuesday, I don't remember who this guy is. Wednesday, I think this is supposed to be... Not that I don't remember who this is. Ratcatcher on Thursday. Friday, King Tut, who gets a low blow. Saturday, I think... I'm not sure who this guy is supposed to be, but man, Quilt Man. Oh my gosh, Quilt Man. Scott Simon really liked this guy. He popped up for a couple issues, but he died, actually. 2 issues. And then, of course, we run into Victor Zsasz at a baseball park. Yes, Victor Zsasz, a notorious serial killer at a baseball park. Okay. And then we see The Signal. Yes, I know who these characters are because I read comics. Yep. Yep. And then we see, coming to this room, we see Ventriloquist and Scarface Ventriloquist. Yep, the actual people. Yep. After Harley fights Victor Zsasz for a while. Looks like Victor Zsasz looked like he had a mustache, but nope, he gets the crap beaten out of him. Red Toad is having fun, basically putting out a baseball park. And of course, Harley's basically out of it. And then we see, apparently, we see this weird looking guy. Like, I'm not sure this guy's supposed to be. Then we see the blind woman who's associated with Harley. And she gets taken out by Hugo Strange. Except it's not Hugo. Actually, it is Hugo Strange. And he's here with Falseface. Yeah, this guy. And of course, we have to make a reference to... Well, I'm surprised they made a doll version of the Harley bat. That's so funny. The fact we have that here. And of course, you have various areas get damaged by Mr. Freeze and Killer Croc. Harley Quinn is hospitalized. And of course, the doctor is Hugo Strange. Hugo Strange is a psychiatrist. He's not a surgeon. Of course, he's about to inject her. And of course, then she basically gives a headbutt, breaking his nose. Time to take a temperature. By the way, spoiler, we ain't taking the mouth. Yes, basically what she did, she took temperature and shoved it up his butt. I am not kidding about that. She seriously did that. And then we have Ratcatcher with Tweedledee and Tweedle Fishnet. What the heck? Yeah, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Yeah, who in the current continuity members of the Wonderland Gang. Gang of Harleys for Hire beats up the other guys. Is just so funny. Excuse me. Yeah. Fights all these people. Yeah. And of course, you who are hypnotized by the Mad Hatter says, "Kill the gang of Harleys." Lucky enough that Killer Croc basically is like trying to kill Mad Hatter, of course, and then he basically just pops him on the head, which is so hilarious. Yep. And then we have various other Batman villains. We see KG Beast, a version of Black Spider. I'm not sure who the eye guy is supposed to be. Might be Ten Eyes, possibly. I'm not sure. We see Harley Sin there. And completely different attire. Yeah, I think this outfit is from her appearance from Harley Quinn Gang of Harleys. But yeah, I'm not sure who the guy who's the upside down bat. I think that must be like a version, like a Jokerized Batman. And of course, Ivan takes out Penguin's like masked goons. We have a massive brawl happening. We see Scarecrow make a return here. And of course, he gets affected by his own gas. And of course, we have Red Tube taken out by some mysterious woman, and then we have also Penguin fighting Harley Quinn. Proceeds to beat the crap out of him. And then she grabs an umbrella and whacks his female assistant across the head. And of course, after all these villains are basically beaten up, they're just all celebrating afterwards. Colin King is basically still working for the park. Not legit now. Yeah, and of course, Riddler shows up. Riddler made this. Which you guys got her two thumbs has been out of commission, Killer Croc. Where's everybody else? I'm not like, oh, yep. And of course, Harley and their gang of Harleys beat up the Riddler, of course. And as for 42, it's just a backdoor power for Old Lady Harley. And we start off with a clear ripoff of Mad Max Fury Road, with Harley Quinn tied to the front of this car. Yes, a scene pulled directly from Mad Max. Yep, it just basically just like revealing some stuff. It's purely like a lot of setup for the Old Lady Harley series, which that's the reason why Frank Tieri left the book, was to work on this. Yep. And of course, she goes off Red Tool to go on their Avengers in that miniseries. And wow, I give that book roughly a 10 out of 10. It's a really fun book, and wow, this is probably by far my longest comic corner I've done today, because I'm discussing 2 deluxe editions. Basically, I'm kind of discussing, in a way, like about almost 30 issues. My nose is itchy, sorry about that. So yeah, 2 really good books here. Final thoughts on the Jimmy Palmiotti run / Frank Tieri. This run's fantastic. And who knew? Like, it all started right here with Hot in the City. This is where it started. And then we have this, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4. By the way, back is a clear cover to the shiny. Yep. Joker's Last Laugh, and the name itself a nod to the old crossover from like 2000. Black, White, and Red All Over, a series of stories. This one kind of felt like the true end of this particular line. This felt like bonus stuff. And then we have the relaunch here. And then we have the second volume. And I didn't buy any more volumes for this. Purely because I didn't have time to. And I kind of forgot half the time when these trades were coming out, so I never got a chance to buy them. And I think a lot of people probably were fine with Jimmy Palmiotti leaving the book. I mean, they've been a book since like 2013. Yeah, they didn't finally leave to issue like 34. Which came out in, let's see. That was in... at least at the start of 2018. That's the final issue of the run. So this is basically, let's say this is She-Bat. This is Francine. I thought it was a completely different person. Like, I could have sworn that basically, okay, yeah, they kind of changed the name of... Actually, this is basically her. So I should point out something about She-Bat. Her last appearance prior to pop up in Harley Quinn was actually in the pages of Detective Comics. Yep, she popped up in the store for that, and I'm like, so she's been returning it for a pretty good period of time. And her most recent appearance was actually the Man-Bat miniseries that just recently, well, I think it just wrapped up, if I'm not mistaken. I think so. I think it's still ongoing, if I'm not mistaken. She been into issue like issue 4, but she was not in the final issue. 4 of the 5 issues. Mm-hmm. Yep. But the overall thing when it comes to Harley Quinn by Jim Palmiotti Connor along with Frank Tieri, it's an absolute really good run. And Sam Humphries, when he took over the book with issue 43, he pretty much continued that run. Just basically, I don't think he dropped any characters. No. Unlike other books would drop characters, like in the case of Nightwing, would drop half the freaking cast once the next writer took over. Sam Humphries didn't do that. It actually felt like just still the same run, just a different writer, just doing different things with it. I'm definitely looking forward to reviewing the very first trade soon. Just not right now. Okay, so that is definitely it for this particular review. Yes, by far, my longest comic corner to date, because I'm discussing a lot of stuff over the course of these 2 Harley Quinn trades. Yeah, who knew that 2 Harley Quinn trades, I could talk about this for a whole freaking hour. Yep. I mean, I've done like a couple videos this long before, but like 40 minutes, but an hour? That is something. Okay? So, if you can get through this one, up to you if you can get through this one. Because I never suspected talking for a whole hour for this. Okay? And tomorrow, probably expect at least maybe 1 comic corner. Okay? See you next video. Bye.